Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Hollywood Happy Hour Podcast. I am your host, Stephen Anthony Bailey. I am very excited by this newest episode that we have today. I finally got Madison Lawlor on the podcast. She is my co-star in the film Until Forever. She plays Michelle Larson, and she is fantastic. She was very inspirational, bright, bubbly, as she normally is. She is just coming off of a Best Actress win for the film at the Attic Film Festival. Shout out to Attic Film Festival, and thank you so much for, giving us the opportunity to have our movie shown there, and nominating Madison and giving her that opportunity. And congratulations to Madison for winning that award. That's pretty awesome. Madison has led quite a career so far. She has made the rounds on some TV shows. The Thundermans, Franklin and Bash, Kirby Buckets, and done some indie films, obviously Until Forever being one of them. I've worked with her a couple times now. She did my Crowbar Sizzle reel thing that we did for a film I'm trying to get made. She played my sister who is kidnapped, so it was a big difference from what she did in Until Forever, but she's a very versatile actress. She can do anything. It was awesome sitting down with her. We sat down for just a little bit over an hour and kind of just talked about everything. We weaved in and out of things and talked about a one-act play that she did while she was in school that we couldn't remember the name of, so later in the podcast she's going to blurt it out for you when you're least expecting it. But we had a good time, and it was good seeing her again, good to catch up. And last time I saw her, we were at a screening of Until Forever out at the Rep East Playhouse in Santa Clarita, Newhall area. And we got to do a Q&A together, and I'll be releasing that on the internet at some point once I find a little bit of time. I'm currently working in post for America's Got Talent, way to pay the bills, and this season's going to be awesome. I'm really happy with the footage that we've gone through so far, and that's been a cool gig. And I've done a little bit of that. My girlfriend Shannon is one of the associate producers on the show. So I go there to play and help out when I can. So yeah, that's been fun. That's been keeping me busy. And of course, I'm trying to keep the podcast going as much as I possibly can, as well as, it's pilot season. So of course, we're, as actors, knocking on doors and trying to get jobs, as you'll hear about Madison talking about that later in the podcast. And, we got some fun things me and Jason are brewing up. We're going to be letting loose on some of the screenplays we've been fiddling with for a while. So it's going to be an exciting year. It's going to be definitely an exciting summer, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens in the coming year, and I'll keep you all posted on that. But, this is our 7th episode of the podcast. I feel like I'm finally getting the hang of talking into a microphone and getting the best out of people. So for the first time in this episode, actually, I do the Bernard Pivot questionnaire that you hear on literally one of my favorite TV shows of all time, Inside the Actors Studio with James Lipton. So that was fun to ask Madison that question, those questions rather. And I think it's something that I'm gonna steal from James Lipton and Bernard Pivot. I think it's a really interesting thing to pull these random things out of people and get them to think and respond on the spot. So anyway, here we go, episode 7. Welcome to Hollywood Happy Hour, episode 7. This is Stephen Anthony Bailey, and I'm here with Madison Lawlor. Say hi.
Hi.
All right, so I'm just going to jump right in. The main reason we're doing the podcast, obviously, is because we did a movie together.
Yep.
And we're going to talk about it.
Woo!
So we did the screening out here in Los Angeles, and we did a Q&A then. I can't believe how long that Q&A went.
How long did it go?
It was like 30 minutes.
Really? That flew by.
Yeah, I have the audio. People just kept asking questions. I was actually surprised because like 5 minutes in, I felt like you and I were both like, all right, that's enough.
Yeah.
But I think that's the interesting thing and why maybe podcasts are so popular is because we think talking about the actual craft is kind of boring to us. We think it would be boring to normal people. Yeah. But I don't think normal people find it boring.
Mm-mm. I agree with you. I think hearing about someone who's passionate about anything is interesting. And even, like, my brother, he's in medical school, he's passionate about science and medicine, and if he wasn't interested, I would be like, just, I don't care. But
Please
he's
don't talk
so
about it.
interested, so I'm really enticed by everything he has to say about it. And I think it goes the same with any sort of subject matter.
So, going to be a doctor.
He's going to be a doctor, yeah.
And your dad's a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And you're the actress. Where do you get the art from?
I think actually a mixture. My dad, although he's a doctor, he's like also one of the most highly creative people I've ever seen. He's written like 5 screenplays, made a handful of documentaries, and he's written a book. He's really creative.
Wow.
And so I definitely have that from him. And then my mom also, she was a speech and debate and English teachers, and so she's a great writer, and she acted as well in high school and college, and she performs with this troupe called Trash, and it's doctors' wives who they write parodies to well-known songs, but they change all of the lyrics to sort of raunchy doctor humor, and it's hilarious.
What?
It's hilarious. So a mixture of both my parents.
That's pretty wild. Okay, well, that totally makes sense. See, for me, like, I didn't really have any artistic genes, per se. I mean, my aunt was a ballroom dance teacher, which I turned out to be for about a year and a half. She did it right when she graduated high school.
That's insane.
Because she just wanted to work. She didn't want to go to school.
Yeah.
And I was the same way. That was the job I had. I did it for about 2 years.
Huh.
And when I was done with it, I I drove out to California, but I did it for about 2 years. So I get a little bit of that from her. My mom writes a bit of poetry, and she can draw really well, but, no one's really a performer in my family. And, I was always the kid that wanted to do comedy, stand-up comedy in front of... That was my first love, actually. It wasn't even acting. It was just stand-up. Yeah, I just wanted to be a stand-up comedian. And that's, like, the thing at this point in time that I've actually... Of all the art forms that I take part in, that's the one that I've done the least.
Interesting how life transitions.
Yeah, yeah. And, I mean, I'm going to get back into it. Oops, that's my party foul. I got my phone on. Yeah, I'm going to get back into it, of course, and I'm always going to do it. I've always done it. I've just never gotten to do it as consistently as I wanted to be able to be a working comedian.
Totally. The cool thing about Los Angeles is there are a ton of open mic stand-up and I have a friend who is into stand-up comedy, and it's been interesting to see his career progress, but he started off just doing open mics at places in NoHo, and it's cool. The cool thing about living in a city is that the venues are there, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
taking advantage of them.
Even for working comedians who want to just work out, you can go out. You could do 5 mics a night if you really wanted to. The tough part is that, I mean, it can be expensive, especially if some of them charge for the open mics. They charge like $5 a pop for 5 minutes, or, still pull the 2-drink minimum thing or whatever it is. Which is crazy. If you're doing 5 mics, you can't go and do 2 drinks, 10 drinks in at the end of the night.
You'd be drunk and
broke. It's just terrible.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the tough part is, the money's got to come from somewhere to pay for the place to stay open during that time.
Yeah.
At least at like Flappers, they do food and stuff. So you go there. Most comedians go there. They do their dinner and have a soda or something. And that counts as their 2-item minimum. And you can get your stage time that way.
That is nice.
So that's a cool place, and they don't really charge an arm and a leg for drinks or food. So anyway, but yeah, stand-up was something that I really loved to do, but no one in my family really was a performer. So I don't really know
cool.
where
you
I
can
came
be
from.
the leader.
Well, more like the outcast, but not in a bad way. Just so different from the family that I always kind of never fit. Everyone else kind of had their own fit. Like, most people in my family are very practical.
Yeah.
And that stems from my grandfather, who was always like, I remember telling him I wanted to be an actor. And I remember him saying, always have a backup plan, a fallback, this, that, and the other thing. And, I was always of that mindset, if I have a fallback, I'm going to fall back. Because it took me until I was 23 to come out to California, which is still young. Yeah. But that 5 years, I wanted to come out here when I was 18. That 5 years feels like a lifetime. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's not going to matter. But and I was still working on my craft and doing...
Which is an important time.
Yeah, tons of theater and, like I said, stand-up comedy back then, and student films and
Where'd
all
you
that
live
kind
at
of
this
stuff. So growing up, I grew up in South Bend, Indiana, and I spent a lot of time going to Chicago.
Chicago. That's how
I had a hub, which was nice, but I was also so young and naive and, didn't really get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like that knowledge comes later too, and you have to do all of those things in order to get it.
Yeah. You got to earn your stripes.
You do.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I've always
field work
been someone who works inside out. So instead of, I guess, coming to LA completely no experience and just going for it, I was a guy that was like, let me stack up all the experience I possibly can, make sure that I'm going to be ready when I go out there. I still wasn't ready, but I was definitely ahead of the game in some aspects.
And I think that's smart in a lot of ways too. So many people move out here completely naive, not understanding what the industry truly is at all. They have a very dreamlike, innocent vision of how things will go, and having just any sort of semblance of reality of what actually the industry is, I think it sets you far ahead from people who, even though 23, some people move out here when they're 18, having that knowledge of the reality of the situation, I think is priceless.
Well, I mean, so you had sounds like parents who knew the industry a bit, performers and doctors and, all these great people to lead you. Well, tell people where you come from first.
I'm from South Dakota. I'm from Rapid City, South Dakota.
You're from Rapid City. So did you know, well, we'll get into that later. I was going to ask you, did you know about Lynn Productions before? No,
I didn't actually.
Did your dad?
My dad did.
Okay.
Yeah. He knew the Lynn brothers. And
they're like local celebrities. When I went out there, everybody knew who they were.
Yeah, and my dad definitely, he knows them. And because my dad's involved in screenwriting, Michael had read some of his screenplays before, and he was one of the people that my dad used for feedback to critique, because he's like, how do we make this better? And so he had that sort of relationship with Michael, but they were also friends. They had a movie. So there's this old theater in Rapid City, Elks Theater.
Yeah.
And they have cheap movies, but the upstairs you can rent out. And my parents and a bunch of their friends, including the Lynns, they had a movie group, and they would watch movies. I don't know if it was once a month. I think it was once a month.
Oh, that's neat. Like a little movie club. That's cool.
Movie club. And the Lynn brothers are obviously passionate about movie making, so they were part of the group, and I think that helped create a better friendship between them.
Right.
So that was after I lived here already.
So Rapid City. So growing up, did you do like theater or dance, or what did you do?
It's interesting. I did a theater camp when I was in kindergarten, and I was a cactus in the play. but then after that, my parents always may require that my brother and I be part of a team sport. They thought learning those skills and being active was really important. Yeah, and I agree. Yeah. But so for most of my childhood, my spare time was consumed by sports. But I always played dress up, and I always played pretend, and I would always have friends over and play house, and I had the craziest dress up collection ever. Any money I made, I would spend on thrift store purchases, and I had like this huge, our mechanical room where like the water heater is, I bought clothes racks, and I filled with all of my costumes.
Really?
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
And I painted a green screen.
You took it seriously.
I took it so seriously. I painted a green screen, and I learned how to use Adobe Premiere when I was in elementary school.
Oh, so you made your own films back then?
I would make my own stuff, and I would do photo shoots by myself. I learned, this was all stuff that I was really passionate about, but I didn't do it through a formal setting. I just played kind of with myself or whatever friend I could wrangle in. Mm-hmm. And then in 8th grade, I had done track and cross country and soccer so much, and I needed a break. I was feeling uninspired, and I wanted something to change. So in 8th grade, we have a local children's theater called the Cherry Street Players. Mm-hmm. And and this was like a big thing for me at the time. I was really nervous to change it up, but I decided not to do soccer that year, and instead I did theater. I joined the Cherry Street Players, and that ended up being an amazing experience. Our first production that I was a part of was The Secret Garden.
Oh, yeah.
Which was inadvertently the first chapter book I ever read. And I was like, it's fate. And it was a musical, and I got cast as Mary Lennox, and I was super nervous. I'd never sang in front of anybody before.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's a great role.
It was so fun. So that really fueled a passion. Like that.
What a great way to start.
It was a phenomenal way to start. It really lit a fire inside of me where I was like, whoa, this, and the adrenaline from performing, I'm sure you know as well, is just...
Yeah. When you got cast in such a big role, because I had the same thing happen right off the bat, got a really solid role. Were you surprised by that? Like, going into it, you knew you had an imagination, you knew you'd be able to do a play, I'm sure. But when somebody right off the bat sees something in you enough to put you as the lead of a show, was the seed planted there that you were going to have bigger dreams than, say, Rapid City could offer?
I had always, even from second grade, I had always had really big aspirations. That's like always been part of my personality. I always wanted to spread my wings as far as I possibly could and just see and experience as much as I could. Even in second grade, I remember we had a music assembly. Everyone was required to do choir, and we had a music assembly, and on the screen behind the kids playing, each kid had their photo taken with the career that they wanted, and mine said actress. And so even from a young age, even before I knew what that entailed, I knew that I loved to be in someone else's shoes, and I think that was definitely in 8th grade, during that play was definitely the first time where it felt so good that someone took me seriously, even just for the small hometown production. I was like, whoa, maybe this thing that I really enjoy, someone else sees something in me, and that was the first time that I felt like that.
Yeah.
And so that was a very pivotal moment, I guess. Very pivotal moment.
So from there, I mean, was it... I assume you didn't just drop sports altogether, did you?
No, I still had to do sports, so I did track and cross country, which is why I didn't get to be involved with high school theater, and I was really
bummed. Didn't do any high school theater?
No, I didn't.
So from Secret Garden, when's the next time you did something performance-based?
That was the fall play, and then we had a spring play, which was the Brothers Grimm Spectaculathon, was the name of it, and it was really, really fun. It was really fun. And I had a super fun part in that as well. And then after that, my parents required that I do sports, so I did cross country in the fall and then track in the spring. Mm-hmm. And there was my freshman year, we had this thing. It was called the one-act competition, a one-act play competition. Yeah. So all the high schools in the state put together a one-act play, and then we go to Sioux Falls, which is the biggest town in the state, and we have the competition, and that is in between sports for me. So that was during the winter.
So it worked out.
So I did that. I did that one year, and we did, what was it? What's the name? Oh, it starts with an R. I can't remember.
Is it a play?
Yeah, it's a play.
Rabbit Hole?
No. It's like the person... Oh, this
Rashomon?
is really bothering me. I think it starts with an R.
Who's it by? Do you know the play?
I don't remember.
What's it about?
Basically, it's like, I played the daughter of one of the... Oh my gosh, this is really bothering me.
Tell me what it's about. I'll be able to tell you what it is.
It was a musical, and it was about someone aged... Oh, I don't even know how to explain it. It's kind of obscure. It was like this. It followed this guy, and it was his dad, and he went into a forest, and he aged. I'll think about it, and if I remember it, then I will say it.
Okay, good. All right, so you do some one-act plays, and you're doing sports. So then, where do you go from there?
Then...
Did you do any, local films when you were in
North
Dakota? No, not at all.
None. So between 8th grade and freshman year, I took a 2-week camp during this, let me make sure this timeline. Yes. I took a 2-week camp in the summer in Los Angeles because I wanted to learn more about this industry and compare it and see what it was like.
Yeah.
And,
I think I remember you telling me about this.
Yeah. So I came out here for 2 weeks, and I researched places, had no idea where to go. I was just like, looking online. Mm-hmm. But I ended up going to this place called TVI. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah.
And I took the 2-week camp there, and it was interesting. It was really interesting. They have different casting people come in, and different managers and agents come in, and they tell you what they know about the industry. It's a lot of information about the industry, as well as acting, but mostly it's just helpful because it tells you the reality of the industry, which is something that is so valuable. And yeah, I did that. And I ended up getting a meeting with one of the managers, and I was not ready to move out at this point, but he talked to me and he said, I met with him and he said, I see something in you and you have a lot of potential, and if you moved out here, I would sign you, but if you're living in South Dakota, it doesn't make any sense. And my mom and I talked about it, but I was not ready at this point.
How old are you at this point?
I was just finished 8th grade.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah.
So super young.
So I was,
what is that, 14?
I don't even know, 14?
Yeah. Maybe 13.
Maybe, yeah. I probably had just turned 14. I'm a May birthday, so.
Yeah.
And then I did freshman year of high school, and I was really uninspired with high school. I had sort of gotten, I guess, just depressed is almost the right word. I was really, in my head, really sort of introverted, I guess. I don't know. I just wasn't passionate about anything I was doing there, and my parents picked up on that, and when I asked if I could go to LA for the summer between my freshman and sophomore year, they said yes. And
of high school?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So I asked if I could come out for the summer, and so lucky that they said yes. And I came with my mom, and we stayed here for 3 months and just learned as much as we could. I took a bunch of classes, read a bunch of books, submitted myself for a bunch of auditions just so I knew what that was like. I had no idea what auditioning for that, like any sort of filmed project was like.
Right.
And absorbed a bunch of information at the end of, and booked some random little gigs, but at the end of the summer I booked a web series. And I remember I was like, if I book, or if I accept it, then I have to stay out here, and if I don't, then I have to go home. And at this time, my brother he was going to be a senior in high school, and my mom, she kind of made the decision she wanted to have his last year with him, which I think is a great decision. And so we went back to South Dakota, and I had my sophomore year, and then again, just like increasingly uninspired and unstimulated by my environment, and I proposed to my parents the idea of me moving to Los Angeles, and we talked about it a lot, and then they basically said that they would support it, and they gave me a deadline. They said, well, this isn't something we can just talk about. If this is something you're going to do, it requires a lot of planning. So they said, you have to tell us by, I think the date was January 21st. January 21st, are you moving or not? And so that day came, and up until that day, I didn't even know what I was doing, because there are...
And you're 15 at this time.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yep. And so I was like, I don't know what to do. There are pros and cons to everything. Moving is scary. I was definitely really scared of leaving everything that I knew behind. Especially my whole existence that I remember was from South Dakota. I had lived other places when I was really little, but I had the same friends since kindergarten, and I didn't even know how to make friends who I hadn't known for 13 years. So it's just like all that kind of stuff that I thought about. And then that day came, and I didn't even know what I was going to say. And then they asked the question, and I was like, let's do it. And the rest is...
You got to jump.
Yeah.
Wow. So you've been in LA since you're 15 then?
I had just turned 16 when I moved, by the time the school year was over.
So you got out here at 16?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so lucky. That's so awesome. So you're out here at 16. When was the first time you got in front of a movie camera?
Well, so I came out with no representation, no anything, and
I mean,
my first
you had
year,
some training on your resume.
I had some training, and definitely.
The webisodes, a couple short films.
Yeah, exactly. But so my first, I guess, my first year was really spent getting representation and submitting for stuff myself, and then, but I got commercial representation. Let me think about this. I had a friend who referred me to a manager almost right away. So I had a manager the first year. I didn't have an agent my first year. My manager helped me get a commercial agent. So the first, I guess, big set I was on was a commercial set. And it was for her, these things, it was basically like a Barbie commercial for these things called Live Dolls. And I booked that my first summer I lived out here. And my first year I booked a lot of commercials, and I was like, wow, this is great.
Yeah. Were you
And
non-union at the time?
non-union. And I booked a non-union pilot called Get Wild my first year out here. And then after my first year, I got an agent, and I'm still with that agent, actually. I really like her a lot.
Who are you with?
Robin, her name's Robin Nassif.
Robin Nassif.
So she's been with me ever since I was 17
Wow.
or 18. I don't remember which. 17 or 18. Yeah. And then, I don't know, I'm trying to think of my first theatrical thing I did. What was it?
Should we go to the IMDb? Am I going
We
to
could.
I'm going. Here
Oh,
I
I
go.
did do this. I did this. Oh, yeah. My first year out here, it's so funny. I did this, I submitted myself for all these auditions. I did this little short film called Sober Sense.
Uh-huh.
And I remember auditioning for that. And, it was this weird thing where I was like 16, and it was an all improvised audition, and I had to improvise that I was pregnant, looking at a photograph, talking to my dead husband and telling him what I wish I could say now that I'm about to have this baby. And I was like,
Holy smokes.
am I in here for the right project? I was so confused. I thought I did so bad. I was just like nervous. And then that ended up being the first like theatrical thing that I booked, and it was just a short, but it was really fun.
So that's 2013.
Yeah.
Right?
So 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I've been here 4.5 years.
So then you got,
I guess.
in 2014, Franklin and Bash.
Yeah.
Was that your first
TV spot.
TV?
Yeah.
Because I remember that was about to air when we were filming Until Forever.
Oh.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. Actually.
Yeah, because that was about to come on TV.
Yeah.
Then you got, it says Brush with Danger.
Oh, yeah.
What? That's a film?
Yeah,
I did some voice acting on?
Yeah, yep.
What's that like? I've never done that. Just acting
cool.
voice in a film. Did you dub somebody?
No, I did. Well, I guess I dubbed like extra characters, and then we also made just environment noises, like ha 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 and laughing and press and stuff. But it was really fun. I know the director, so she's a student. She was, I don't think she still is. She was a student at USC, and I did a short film with her at USC. And then she's brought me to do some other stuff since then. I like her a lot. I shot a music video with her recently, actually.
Oh wow. See,
yeah.
that's awesome. I have friends like that from USC. Like, newer actors always ask me about, is it worth it doing student films, blah blah blah, and I always say absolutely.
Yeah, I do too.
Absolutely. You've got to get good in front of the camera.
Yeah.
And every director that you meet, it's like a little lottery ticket that you buy.
One of my favorite projects I've worked on to date was an AFI film that I did. And AFI in particular, they make such great quality films.
Uh-huh.
I love AFI. I would do an AFI film in a second.
Yeah.
They're so fun. They're so professional.
Too, and they're both pretty cool films.
Yeah, they're just full on major sets and their stories are always really cool.
And I've had this debate with the guy I'm talking about, Michael Schwartz. I did a podcast with him as well. And he went to USC, and we had a literal debate for probably 20 minutes of his podcast about USC versus AFI and the differences and
I've worked with both too.
The positives of both. I mean, and as an actor, it's great because we don't have to have any loyalty to one. If you're a student paying that tuition, you're going to have loyalty.
Yeah.
But
I know my preference.
As an actress, definitely AFI. But I mean, definitely do both.
Yeah.
I think I've worked with all of them. UCLA, USC, New York Film Academy, all of them. Mm-hmm. I was just so hungry
it's such
when
a
I first
great
got out
experience.
here. Oh man.
Yeah, but AFI is just as professional as any professional set that I've seen. At least the production I was on.
More professional than some sets
many.
that are technically really professional sets where you're getting paid.
So true.
So then 2014, then Kirby Buckets.
Oh yeah.
You played Corbin. Mm-hmm. Now, that's the one where you're kind of like possessed or something?
No, I'm really artsy in this one. I'm part of the art club at school, and I'm just eccentric, artsy student.
Okay. Now, but which one was the one that I saw in your demo reel where you're like...
that was the Thundermans. Is that
the
not on there?
Thundermans. Yeah, okay, so that's right after. So,
oh, yeah.
Okay, so you did Kirby Buckets and then the Thundermans right after. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So so these are multicam shows, and for people that don't know what multicam shows are, it's where they have multiple cameras, and a lot of times you perform in front of the live studio audience. Did you do that?
We were supposed to for the Thundermans, but one of the main characters got sick. So during one of the rehearsal days throughout the week, he was sick. So that ended up throwing our rehearsals off, and we ended up not doing it in front of a live studio audience, which would have been fun.
Difficult to keep up the energy needed for that kind of show, pretending that there is a live studio audience giving you that almost theater type energy?
No, it wasn't, because I think the frame of mind that you have to be in is just have fun, and that's basically what brings the energy to it, and it is so much fun, and these actors who you're working with are so good at what they do, and they're so talented, and they just make it a fun environment. So it wasn't, and to be honest, it was nice because most of the week is just spent rehearsing.
Yeah.
So you really only have, I don't know if we filmed I think we only filmed 1 day, 1 or 2 days. I don't remember which or how many, but they go by really fast because you have it all blocked out, and you block it throughout the week, and then when you're filming it, it's just like, well, we just knock it out.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's actually surprising.
How many takes did you do per setup, let's say?
Not a ton.
Like 2 or 3?
Per setup, probably,
wow.
yeah.
So you were in and out.
Yeah. Yeah,
wow,
yeah.
that's crazy. So then by the time you're doing these shows, you had already booked until forever, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Now,
I think I'd already filmed it.
You'd already filmed it before you filmed the Thundermans and Kirby Buckets? Oh, wow. Because, we filmed it in 2014, right? Yes. Yes. Because we did post throughout 2015.
Oh.
So, you would have booked it and filmed it before then. Okay.
Until Forever on there?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
But it didn't come
it's
2016.
up there, yeah.
So, we filmed it, stayed in post. So, let's segue into that, and we'll go back through some other stuff. So, we talked about this a little bit already. Your dad had known the Lynn brothers who produced the film. And now, the story I know is that your dad was talking to them, and I think your dad was being considered for the film before you were, right? As the doctor.
Yeah.
Dr. McAlpin. So, which he was great, by the way. He's very chill. What do you think? I thought he was great.
I think he did a good job.
I mean, he's playing a doctor.
Yeah, which luckily he is a doctor. But yeah, it's funny.
He delivered that. I mean, I read that script so many times because I was helping give notes and stuff like that to Michael and things of that nature.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
reading it every time, he was kind of exactly what I had imagined in that line delivery where he gives the diagnosis. I thought it was perfect. I thought it was great.
He did. It's cool because he has the knowledge of how you do tell news that's hard to tell, and you just have to say it.
You just got to rip the
You
Band-Aid
can't really
off.
be emotional about it because that's part of their job description, and I think that's exactly what he did. I think my dad did a great job.
Yeah. So he's being considered for it, and then he said, you should take a look at my daughter. She's an actress in L.A., and then you made an audition tape, right?
Yeah. So my dad's like, well, if you want my daughter to send in a tape, I'm sure she'll film one. And they're like, okay, I guess. Like, this is kind of weird. Let's just say yes, see if she sends in a tape. And then, I filmed it and sent them the tape, and I guess they liked it.
Yeah, I mean, I was... I had already been attached to the film for over a year because Bonnie found me.
Yeah.
Michael Boyam's mom.
So great.
Yeah, she had found me, and I've told that story on here before. So I had been attached to it, helping work on the script and things like that, and then so I remember I kept getting sent all these audition tapes, and I was just like, no. And then they sent me yours, and I was like, there you go. And so what Michael did was he intercut my first audition tape and yours to see, since we couldn't get a chemistry read, and I think, because there was one actress...
I remember they were considering someone else before me.
Yeah, there was
before
one
I sent in my tape.
There was one that, and I was trying to get a hold of her for a chemistry read, and it just wasn't working out schedule-wise. So then they were like, do you want to try for a chemistry read here? And I was like, it's just going to be too much work. Not too much work. That I didn't want to put the work. It's just hard,
especially when you don't know the person.
Right,
kind of, it's...
right. And then I was thinking, if I do one, then I'm going to have to do all these other chemistry reads. I don't have that much time to do 20 chemistry reads out here and film them myself. So, and it's tough because they're in South Dakota, but, I was very passionate about the film still.
Yeah.
So anyway, he intercuts them.
Were the people he auditioned prior in South Dakota?
I think they were just all over the place.
Oh, okay.
But I know that he was trying to get LA-based people. He wanted...
Rip Van Winkle. That was the name of the play.
That's the name of the one act. Okay,
Yep.
Rip Van Winkle.
We turned it into a one act, and we made it a musical.
Oh, okay, so going back to that real quick, who did that? Did you just have a crazy drama teacher that wanted to do that kind of stuff?
Yeah, which was awesome. And we had great musicians in our school who wrote the songs, and we had a woman who came in and choreographed stuff. It was really cool.
Wow.
Yeah, it was fun.
That's intense. See, when I was in high school, unfortunately, we had this great drama teacher. Unfortunately for me, the drama teacher during my freshman year, essentially retired. So we didn't have a drama teacher we had a drama teacher, but he wasn't directing any plays. So the first play that was there was called Up the Down Staircase. It's a high school play about high school students. And then...
and did you act all throughout high school?
Yeah,
okay,
I was
cool.
like the drama club president and the whole
Oh,
thing.
wow.
And yeah,
Cool.
made videos as projects for...
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was intense.
Heavily involved. That's
Yeah,
cool. So
I
it started
was
from a young
intense.
age for you.
Yeah, no, for sure it did. And that's, I had always wanted it, and I didn't know what even a community theater was until I was like 18.
Wow.
So I just didn't have the right guidance,
Yeah. It's hard when people aren't involved in that in
Yeah.
your circle. It's hard to
It's
even
really
know.
it's really really difficult. And having good mentorship is probably the most important thing, because I feel like I spun my wheels a lot. And being the age I am now, that's why I'm all the time, and that's probably why I do a podcast, to be quite honest with you. I just always wished that I had an outlet that I could have found the information that I needed to not spin my wheels, just because I didn't have good mentorship.
Yeah.
Like I said, this drama teacher retired essentially. The next year, we didn't really have a drama teacher per se, because he was still working, but he was just popping in videos, and it was kind of a waste. It was like a free class. So
yeah.
all the drama kids weren't getting the education, and then everyone heard that it was such like an easy A that you watch videos in, so everyone's taking the class, but it's all like the troublemaking kids, right? And then we had one student directed production that was about incest.
Oh,
it was
wow.
for high school kids to do that, I have no idea how that got okayed, and it was terrible.
That's
and then
hilarious.
junior year, this guy David Case, who is one of my mentors, he came in and he did Sound of Music, but I didn't do musicals. I didn't sing back then. So I didn't do a play or anything junior year. And then senior year came along, and the photography art teacher took over as the drama teacher. And so we have the photography teacher teaching drama, and then at night, David Case is directing the plays. So the photography teacher knew that I was like this little ambitious kid, and so I got to help him teach. And I was cracking open the book at night,
wow.
developing a lesson plan and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
I got to teach stand-up comedy to everyone, and got them to do stuff. And we did like puppets, and we did all kinds of crazy
That's
stuff.
awesome.
So senior year was great. And then David was like, you should come down to South Bend Civic Theater. I was like, what's that? And he was like, what do you mean, what's that? It's like the biggest theater in South Bend. I'm like, what? There's more than high school theater here?
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah. So then I went there, and I was doing 10 plays a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
I'd spent all my time there.
That's so good for your brain.
Yeah. So, and it was good. I mean,
And
there's
for
a
your
couple
skill set.
bridges burned because I wasn't always able to be everywhere at once, and that pissed some people off. But my ambition was just so big that I wasn't scared about pissing anybody off, because I knew what I needed. I needed to catch up in my head, and I still think this way, and I think that's why I work so much, so hard all the time, is because I always feel like I need to catch up to where I feel I should be at this point
Just
in time.
catch up to yourself almost.
Yeah, it's not in competition really with anybody else, because I'm looking at like the place markers, and I'm doing pretty well as far as like, and I have a big ego, so I'm in my head I'm keeping up with like the big guns, my favorite actors, and where they were at this age and what they had done, and I haven't had like the commercial success or whatever, but I see the work that I'm doing, and I see what I've put into it.
What's most important is having the work part nailed. If you know your craft, and if you know what you're doing, and if that's something that sets you apart, I mean, that's what will set you apart, is if you know what you're doing, if you're honest and if you're truthful, and if you have that so solidified that no matter what hits you from the outside, that's not going to change. If that's your constant...
Talent wins every time,
Yeah, and then you don't have anything to worry about if you have that constant. And if you obviously have amazing work ethic, lots of people don't have that. And the fact that you have two means you have both, so it means it's only a matter of time.
Right.
Before you are hopefully where you want to be, but you'll never be where you want to be.
No, and that's it. That
is
totally it, because I am never going to be where I want to be. And so that's the thing where you have to figure out, okay, what's really going to make you happy and things like that. But
I think self-reflection is nice.
I have these are all
appreciating yourself.
I always have goals up of okay, here's what needs to happen. And my business partner Jason, I make him do the same thing. He's started his list and stuff like that. And
everyone should do that.
Yeah, I think it's important to have goals and things. So anyway, so outside of that, I just started working all the time. And then that after 30 plays or whatever, I was like, okay, awesome. I had 3 features under my belt, so I didn't come out here empty-handed.
Mm-hmm. No, not at all.
It was the business side that I had to catch up with, and then once you get that,
but you seem like you have a business mind, and that's a lot of things. That's so valuable. So many people don't have that at all.
No.
And I think that is one thing that really separates successful people from unsuccessful people.
Right.
Understanding that to everything you do, to every creative endeavor, there is business and there is money involved. And I think this entire industry, at the end of the day, it's about money. At the end of the day, it's about money. And realizing that is very important. Very, very important.
So for you, where did that come from for you? Well, obviously you said you took these workshops and things like that to understand it. I mean, were there any learning curves for you that you had to try to figure out how to get over? Are there things that you're still working through as an actress to get through?
I think I'm constantly learning, and I'm constantly just gaining deeper insight into the industry and all that it's involved. I think there's a lot of layers. I think one of the most important things that I learned is it's not me. When you go into a room and you audition, you do what you do it as best as you can. At the end of the day, it has really nothing to do with you. And it's all about them. Do they like you? Are you right for this? What do they have in mind? Are you the right height for them? Do you make them mad because they have someone in there 10 years ago who looked like you who made them mad? So really emotionally disassociating yourself from that, from auditioning, from that sort of quote-unquote judgment, that was an important thing that I had to learn. And luckily I learned that pretty fast. And I learned how important it is to have a thick skin, and there are many layers to confidence. And
you've got a great air of confidence about you.
Thank you.
That was something from the get-go. Even the opening day nerves of, say, On Until Forever that we both had, you shook them so quickly, and you have a certain, I don't know, it's obviously you've got this whole freedom thing about you that kind of radiates from you, and that is also adds to the confidence. But you have a great sense of confidence.
Thank you.
And again, business mind, talent, confidence. That is a great package to have, and I think that's why you've had such steady success in your career. Are you happy with where your career is and where it's going?
It's so funny. I think I'm similar to you. I have huge aspirations. I have all of these ideas of things I want to do and people I want to affect and meet and things I want to be a part of and art I want to create with people.
Yeah.
And so I never feel like I'm doing enough. I never feel like enough has been done. But even in the past few months, some great things have happened that I couldn't have imagined happening when I first moved out here. I tested for a handful of pilots this pilot season, and I would have been happy testing for one, and suddenly you're testing for many, and you're like, whoa, and each time you're just like, is this me this is happening to? And you're really happy about it, and even just to make it to the top selection for anything feels so good to finally be at that place.
Well, if it happens once, it's going to happen again, right?
You hope so. But I guess happy with where I am, no. Will I ever be? No. Satisfied? No. Am I appreciative of what I've gone through and what I've experienced? Yes. Do I think that I'm in a good place? Yes. But I will never not have that itch that makes me feel
Right.
like I can always be doing more. I don't think I will ever feel
Hamster on a
content.
wheel.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm never gonna, like great actors like Gene Hackman retired.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how he did it.
I know. It's so funny to
And he's not that old. I mean, he's an old man. I guess you call him an old man, but in the grand scheme of things, he could have kept going.
Yeah.
And hasn't done anything since like early 2000s, I think. That's like 10 or so years already that he hasn't.
There are
done
probably.
anything.
I think about that too. I'm always like, you hear these people, they're quitting acting or they're quitting music. I'm like, what do you mean?
What are you gonna do?
But I think and I've thought about that, and I think there are parts of the industry that get exhausting, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And especially when you're really in the shark-infested waters and you're really, really swimming with the sharks, I can see how you would need a break from that. I can see that. But I always I'm like, why did you formally announce that? Like, can't you just like
especially
slide
when
under
it's
the rug?
like a 50 Cent thing, like I'm quitting rapping
Yeah,
or
it's
whatever,
like, just
and then he
stop
drops another
for a minute.
album like 2 years later, and then you're just like, I thought you were retired. Or Jay-Z did the same thing. It's a big thing with like rappers, but now I feel like
I
it's
know.
definitely starting to go into the acting
Yeah,
thing.
I
Like,
think
I'm
people
done.
just are emotional.
Well, emotional
We're
and
dramatic beings.
what a great way to get all eyes on you. Like,
Yeah.
I'm done acting. No, don't quit. All right, I'll give you one more. Yay!
You can't deny if you're a performer. Most performers at least like a semblance of attention, and so I guess they're getting a ton of attention.
A ton.
And they're like, oh, people do want me still. I'm still relevant. So maybe
Right.
that's
Well, it's hard to turn down when people are begging you. To
yeah,
do
you're like,
something.
oh.
And then I'm sure that
you're
price
begging.
quote goes up when you say, I'm
Probably.
not doing anymore.
Your first one back. It's like and maybe it's a way for people to reinvent themselves too.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah. Well, and then Julie Roberts never said she quit, but she took so much time off to raise her family.
And that I think is awesome.
That is awesome, but now she's coming back and doing movie after movie after movie. Now.
Yeah. It's
And
cool.
and also I think that she's smart in slowing down because now
Yeah.
she's only doing amazing work.
Yeah.
She's
that's
not
true.
doing
And
any
I think
fillers.
It's one of the
She's
cool,
always been good though.
Yeah. Well, it's one of the cool things that this industry in this career allows is if you do reach a certain amount of success, you have the freedom to then do and live your life how you want to a certain degree.
Right.
And I think that's really unique to this. That is there. The potential is there, and I think having that sort of power and knowing that you can reach that sort of power is very appealing to a lot of people. Just power over your own life, I mean, not power.
Yeah, I mean, to be able to be an artist when you actually have to work at life, and I put that in quotes, okay, that's when I'm an artist, and then the rest of it is, like you said, just freedom and having no ties to anything that brings any sort of real stress, because people in the industry get stressed, but I don't consider that real stress. It's dangerous stress to your body. Of course,
Yeah.
it's the same stress, but I don't see it as the same stress as, say, a single mom working a factory job.
Yeah.
40
Oh my gosh.
to 60 hours a week to put food on the table for 3 kids.
Mm-hmm.
That was my mom. I can never, ever go to her and be like, oh, I'm so stressed. I complain a bit about the industry when she asks, but I
Yeah.
try not to just because I've been so fortunate
Yeah.
and #blessed in my life.
Well, it's really great that you have that mindset about it too, because I think a lot of people, because this industry is really self-involved and it's really all about me, a lot of people think of why everything is bad for them.
Yeah.
And to realize that even to be doing this, you're lucky. Even to just be here and having the opportunities you're having and meeting the creatives that you're meeting, it's so fortunate.
Well,
And-
for you coming from South Dakota, you kind of get this too. Do you ever... Sometimes I make myself, when I'm driving, maybe even if I'm grumpy about an audition that went bad, out of the corner of my eye, I catch that Hollywood sign, or I'll look up at the palm trees and be like, oh yeah, idiot.
I had that today, actually.
Yeah?
So yes, I've been driving around town all day. I live in Venice. I drove to Bob Hope Airport-ish area to do another meeting. Then I had to drive to Beverly Hills, and now I'm here in Sherman Oaks. But I was driving to Beverly Hills, and there was this one street that had these it was like the quintessential California street.
Yeah.
My window was down, and I was just looking up, and it was a really, really, do you know what I'm talking about? The really wide street in Beverly
the wide
Hills.
streets where the palm trees go down the center.
And I was driving, I was like,
Yeah.
I am here in this place on like it's a dreamland. And I was passing by what is it? It's called the Beverly Hills Hotel or something. And it was so retro and beautiful. And I was just like, oh man, I can't believe I'm here. It definitely, I'm so in Venice all the time when I don't have to go to the other part of the town.
And the interesting thing about what I know about Venice is, it's like a different world. It's a different lifestyle, a different mindset.
It is. It totally is. And in some ways I like it, and in some ways I don't. I don't feel, I don't have a single friend on the West Side who's like heavily pursuing actor. I have some friends who do commercial work.
Oh, that's so good. That's so mentally healthy.
It is. So I don't talk about acting at all when I live in Venice.
Yeah.
Unless it's someone asking me a question. But it's funny because when I lived on the East Side, it was almost the exact opposite. And it's really interesting. I feel like my friends, they create clothes, or they are
just enough art to understand who you are. I've made sure that I've kept a couple of friends like that.
Yeah, and it's nice.
'Cause it's so refreshing to sit down with them and not talk about craft or whatever.
Yeah, it is. And I have a great friend who is wonderfully talented at ceramics, and I know nothing about ceramics. And I'll ask a question, she'll ask me a question about acting, but then we talk about everything else under the sun. And it is so refreshing. And we both don't understand each other's craft completely. We don't know all that it's involved, all the levels it takes, but we can appreciate it and then just enjoy each other's company. And there's no competition. And I think that's the other thing too. With so many people you meet here, there's this underlying competitiveness. Even between male and female, I've experienced at times. And I'm always baffled. I'm like, why are you being competitive? We have nothing in common with anything. And there's just this thing, like, if you're doing something, it somehow reflects on me. And that's just not true. It's just...
No. But I think what it is, for one thing, the grass always looks greener on the other side.
Yeah.
So somebody could look at you and say, oh, man, she's killing it, whatever. Or, want what you have in some way.
Yeah.
Especially, like I said, you come off as confident. It could even be something as little as that, like, why does she get to be so confident? Why can't I be that confident?
That's true.
What is it? What am I missing? And so I think a lot of it is just because it's just this business is so hard.
You're constantly comparing.
You're getting beat down all the time. It's hard to not look around and try to put that hostility somewhere.
Totally. And I think comparison is probably one of the most detrimental things you can do to your own mental health. Comparing...
Yeah, you have to be careful with it.
You have to really
I'm so big on it.
Yeah.
But I learned to do...
You have to you just have to do it in a productive way, not a...
is make it productive, exactly, to where it was a positive thing, like looking for affirmation.
Exactly.
More along the lines of, am I doing this right?
Yeah, and I think that's great. Comparing yourself to people who are successful and seeing what it was that worked and implementing that into your life. But I know so many people, and I feel like females especially, because we're so image-based. I have so many girlfriends who compare themselves physically to people and whatever, and their style, their boyfriend, their car, their whatever, and it just needs to stop. It is so detrimental to your mental health and satisfaction.
You.
Yeah.
Well, and you're going to be better off in your career if you just be yourself.
That's the only way you're going to make anyone watch you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're up there doing an impression of somebody else all the time, it's not going to happen.
I'll just watch the real guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you'll get boring real quick. All right, so let's talk about Until Forever. We got like 10 minutes left. Okay. Great. So you get cast, obviously. We were talking about the audition tapes. You get cast, and then you flew out. Did I meet you day one? Yeah, because we went to I met you during the table read.
Yeah,
in
in Minnesota.
That church, right?
In Invergrove.
Invergrove Heights, that's right. Yeah, so we met at the church where we did the table read.
Yep.
And then...
Wow.
Yeah. And then, so we shot that first week. The first scene that we did was in the park.
Oh, yeah.
Overlooking the city. And so just tell me about the experience of this film. So, because that's... I love that we saved this for last. That's why people are going to click on this to listen to it. But tell me about the experience. Like, I wasn't a part of it.
It was such an educational experience for me. It was, in many degrees. One, because it was completely immersive. This was the first time I had ever traveled across states to go film a project for an extended period of time. And it happened to be an emotional project, so you had to be fully involved. I was never taken out of it for a moment of time during that month. How many days did we film?
We filmed 21 days.
Okay, probably there
And then
around
you
a
were
week
there-
or a month altogether.
You were there about a month, yeah.
So during that month, there wasn't a single time where I wasn't thinking about what we were doing. I wasn't thinking about the story. I wasn't thinking about the character. There wasn't a single period of mental rest. And I think that was interesting for me because I'd filmed projects in Los Angeles before I'd even filmed projects in Santa Maria. This is the most emotional and intense project I've experienced, but it was also away from home. So there wasn't any escape for me. I filmed horror films, but at the end of the day, you take off your makeup, you go home, and you sleep in your own bed, and you have your friends around you.
And it's only a couple of days.
Yeah.
And it's
this
not,
one-
you're right, it's not the same thing as digging deep into a character. Not only is it a character, it's a real person.
Yeah, it is a real person, and that was a whole other aspect too that was completely new to me, and was intense, and I felt pressure because of that. I wanted to do this real human justice, and I wanted to live this human authentically, and that was the fact that this person existed, and I met this person. That definitely created a new pressure for the whole situation that I hadn't felt before. Because everything I've played before was me cultivating a character from myself, from the words on the page, from something brand new that wasn't actually a path that someone had walked
That pressure
down.
bar is so much lower on that side of things where it's not real.
Yeah.
You're right, there's so much pressure. When you...
I know.
Did you study any tape of Michelle? Or look at any tape?
I did a bit, and yes, a little bit. I didn't see a ton, but I saw, Michael had shown me a little bit, and definitely the thing that resonated with me the most about her was she was like angelic in a sense. She was so positive, and she maintained great positivity and was always just a fantastic support system. And so in many, many ways, she was so
radiated.
strong. Yeah.
Even in those videos.
I know, she did. She really did. Her smile really lit up she had this warmth and inviting nature about her, and I think that was something that I really thought was so special. Not everyone has that.
No.
And that's something I really appreciate.
I mean, I think that's the thing that Michael Boyum saw in her.
Yeah, that's why he was
the energy.
Yeah.
You know, because I think they were both like that. I think
they were.
He was a more focused light, but I think when you're that spiritually in touch with yourself, you can look for another spiritually in touch energy that can glue together. And I think that's why they were such a powerful love story, is because of that.
Yeah, and I think you're right. And I think the other thing that, segueing with what you were saying, being in touch with your spirituality that much, I think having that changes your perspective on the way that you see everything. And I think both Michael and Michelle saw positivity in every situation, and that is so rare. Most people you speak to they see why this is wrong, they see the negative, they complain in some way, shape, or form about what it is that's happening, whether it's large or minuscule. And I think these people were having something so major happen in their lives, and yet constantly throughout the entire period of time, they maintained a glass half full outlook on the situation, which is so unique. Yeah. And I think that's what's special about these people.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think they were definitely... that's the first thing, is that, you know, it's an incredible story. And I remember talking to Michael Lynn, our director-writer, and he was like, he's still trying to crack the story, because you can't just tell a cradle-to-grave story about a guy who has cancer. I mean, it has to be something more. So he switched from having this be all about this kid's faith purely, and I was like, oh yeah, it's a love story. That's the important part about it, is that it's all about love, and you know,
it is in many
philosophically
ways.
That is what life is about. That's all it's about. It's not about anything else. It's not about how many credits we have on IMDb as actors. It's not about and now I sound like Fight Club. It's not about car you drive. It's not about your khakis. It's just about the love that you experience.
It's true. And love in different ways. In this movie, Michael expressed his love for many different things in many different ways. His love for Michelle, but also his love for being alive and just connecting with people and connecting with things and speaking and talking and listening. And he had love for so many different realms of life. And I think, the underlying theme of life is love. And I think that's something everyone can relate to. And I think that's why people are so touched by their story. And you're completely right.
It was so, we were very authentic with the film. I mean, filming in the church that they got married in. What did you use props or costumes that were real? Do you remember?
No. I don't think I did. I'm trying to think if anything from the wedding was, but I don't think it was.
We used the Unity candle. Remember that?
Yeah. I don't think anything on my body was.
Okay.
I don't think Michelle did use anything that was real. I know you did, right?
Yeah. Michael's wallet was in. I had that for. I had his Bible, his nunchucks. Do you remember me playing with those nunchucks all the time?
Huh.
One of his T-shirts, the Karate Key.
Do you have any of it now? Or?
I have a T-shirt.
Okay.
I kept a T-shirt. I gave everything back to Bonnie. I wanted her to keep it, but and then Dave, one of the guy who's the karate instructor with me, was his karate instructor. I mean, there was so much authenticity. I think that really lended itself towards our performances.
Yeah, definitely.
So what did you feel like? What do you feel about your performance? Because you've seen the movie once, right?
Twice now.
Well,
I saw it the once at the pre-screening in that place in.
Oh yeah, and then you saw it at the. That's right. You've seen it twice up here.
I've seen it twice.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
That's right. I forgot that. So yeah, you saw the final cut and then the rough cut.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. So what do you think of your performance?
I think.
Are you an actor that looks at your own work?
Oh, I definitely like to watch it and study it for sure.
Yeah.
Is it something I can look at and not feel weird looking at? No. I look at it and I don't really know how to objectively critique what I'm doing. I know I just see everything that I'm like, but yeah, it's really hard for me to look at it as a whole and know if it was good or bad, if it resonated with people. It's not something I feel like I can honestly judge. But
the Attic Film Festival judged it and gave you a Best Actress award. So.
And I'm honored. I'm really flattered. That was awesome. That was such a great.
Did you
surprise.
expect that?
No.
Not
at all.
Kind of came out of left field.
Yeah.
I didn't even know they were going to do
neither.
film festivals.
I got Carolyn just sent me an email and I was like, whoa, that's crazy.
That's a big deal.
No, I'm
that's
super
cool.
happy. I'm really happy. That's like one of the reasons I'm so happy. I was like, yay, this resonated with someone. And that's what you want so badly, is to tell the story and have the story resonate with people. And
have you had any of your work affect people the way that this has? And are you aware of how much the film has already affected people?
I don't know if I'm aware. I don't know, because I've heard from friends who went and saw it. Oh, great job. But I'm always like, but you're my friend. You would say that anyways. Right. So I'm not sure. I haven't.
Because I had the opportunity to be there in the theaters with people. And people would pour out of this theater and just, of course, they're, holding tissues and things of that nature. But
that's one thing that's been interesting to see how emotionally it does affect.
I've just been getting tons of emails and
that's awesome.
Comments on Facebook, things of that nature, and especially on the Until Forever Facebook page, lots of stuff, lots of people writing, feeling like, it's also different when you have access to the filmmakers to be able to write them a message and tell them what you think. I don't know that Robert Downey Jr. is getting a lot of Iron Man emails. Maybe he is. He probably is, actually, but
his agents are.
His agents are. So we've gotten and I've been able to see all these emails pile in from people saying
awesome.
how powerful the film was. So it's really cool to be a part of that.
That is cool.
And personally, in my career, I have, this is the first time that I've had anything this powerful that did resonate so much with people.
Yeah.
Because when people have seen stuff that I've done, it's been like, oh, that was fun, or that was cool, or that was funny, or whatever. And it's, making people laugh is great, and it's really, really hard.
Yeah.
But affecting people's lives is, I mean, that's why you become an artist, I think.
Yeah, it is. And it's so rare that a project presents itself in front of you that actually holds the story to emotionally affect people. And that just doesn't happen nowadays. People,
No.
I mean, so few stories exist that exist solely to make someone feel something.
Yeah.
And
or
especially
think.
if it's, yeah, and especially if it's a negative feeling. I mean, we try to suppress so many negative feelings as it is. And, and like volunteering to cry is not something
Right,
people
right.
do that
Most
often.
people don't, yeah.
Yeah, and creating a movie that hopefully does that to people is a challenge. And I think, yeah, as an artist, is like having a project like this come to you is a real treasure. So
Yeah.
I'm grateful for the opportunity to get to make anyone feel anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, you know, I definitely, and I was saying this to you earlier, I had gotten my dog Barney right when I got back home, and it was nice because when I got done filming this movie, and I don't know if you felt this way, but when I was done, I was so emotionally exhausted and depressed and heartbroken, and, you know, I was able to come home and have a puppy to make me happy. But I just feel like, you know, there was like a part of my life before I did this movie,
Yeah,
and now
me
I'm
too.
in the second half.
Me too.
It was such a big deal. It was like the
And you had such great anticipation as well because you were attached to the project for so long.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you were involved in so many different realms of it. And I think that's
Yeah.
amazing.
It was interesting to be able to do that, and I mean, you know, I compliment Michael all the time about having no ego and just being completely open to all of us
Yeah,
contributing
he did
and
such a
collaborating.
fantastic job.
He's a great director.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I definitely hold that performance in that movie and working with you, and I always tell people that story of the final day is
Ugh.
the scene where Michael and Michelle are
It's really
dancing.
just such a blackout.
Yeah, I couldn't believe you didn't. I was like, I think I asked you when we were at the Q&A a couple weeks ago, did you remember how long we did it for?
No idea.
And it was
How long?
hours.
That is mind-boggling.
They had, because
That makes no sense
they
to
put
me.
the music on for us. But
That's insane.
it is. They put the music on, but the music didn't have the lyrics in it. It was just the instrumental.
I don't even understand.
And they put it on repeat.
So we did that for hours?
Hours. Crying and all this.
I'm trying to just...
And that was the final day.
I'm
of filming.
trying to believe that, and it is so hard to believe because I just
Yeah.
felt like...
Felt like it went fast.
I just didn't... Yeah. I mean, I felt like it was a weird combination of time stopping, yet time
Time
flew
definitely
by so...
stopped, and
Yeah.
because I remember, and that was the scene that unfortunately
zero
this
change of
happened.
time, so that's
but-
why it felt
yeah,
so-
exactly. But I had this unlocking moment where I was saying goodbye to the character. I was saying goodbye to you.
Yeah.
As your character, saying goodbye to you, even though I knew I would see you again,
Yeah.
but still saying goodbye to you because we had been working every day together
Yeah,
for 15 hours a day or whatever.
What
It was painful, and then realizing I had a character breakthrough, realizing that was my character
Saying
goodbye to your character. In real life, I think that's how it happened. I think Michael knew what
Yeah.
his fate was, and I think that was, you know,
That's
that was the
beautiful.
moment, yeah, where he knew what was going to happen. So I don't know, it was really powerful. I came home and slept a lot. I was
definitely out of it.
for a while. When did you bounce back and become Madison again?
It took me a while. I'm trying to think. When did we get back?
I don't remember the exact day, but we shot for a while.
Yeah, so basically I came back and I felt so weird. I didn't have that thing that I was thinking about all day. Like, I didn't have that thing filling my mind. And I remember I just needed to almost run away from everything. And I went on a road trip. And
That's so smart.
I went to Utah, and I went through Zion, and I went through Arizona, and I went through Antelope Canyon, and then I went to Jackson Hole, and I went to the Tetons. I just immersed myself in nature as much as I could to like, ground myself. Again, I was feeling so strange, so in my head, and just daydreamy that I didn't really feel. I had sort of a self-disattachment. I didn't really feel connected to reality because I was living in this weird alternate universe, it felt like, for that entire month.
Well, and then you were mourning it.
Yeah.
So that was
So I was
through
really
all those emotions.
in a very strange place afterwards. And so I just got in the car at the end of October, and I went on a road trip. And when I came back from that, I felt significantly better, but it took me
refocus.
Yeah, it definitely took time to actually completely feel that like energy again.
So you're completely method as an actor then?
I like to be, and it's hard to be. I say I like to be, and that just sounds so hypocritical. In this movie, yes.
Oh, so you go on a case-by-case basis. Again, like what you said with the
with multicam, it's a little bit different. There are a lot more technicals involved, and I can't really be like, I am this person who turns into a bug, and method a bug. But I think that's one of the reasons I love feature films, because you really, really, really get to immerse yourself in the character, and that's part of the artistic draw for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it also changes for me. Yeah, stylistically it changes, I guess, would be the main thing. But yeah, I feel like when the character presents itself and when the opportunity presents itself, I immerse myself in every single way that I can.
Yeah.
And in any script, I try to immerse myself in any way that I can. But I think in some cases, it's slightly more technical than it is artistic in some cases.
Yeah, well, and that's why they call it a craft.
Yeah.
For sure. So now that this is over and the film is out, out theatrically right now, and it's going to be going on video on demand and Blu-rays and DVDs and things like that. So what's next for Madison?
What is next for me?
Got anything you want to plug? Anything you want to talk about?
I have just been auditioning a bunch, and
how's your pilot season going?
It's
well,
going
you said
well.
you were testing, so things are good.
Yeah. I felt really, really fortunate in that sense. None of them I've booked, but even just testing makes me feel
well, it's a
good.
step in the right direction. I mean, if
Definitely.
you're getting those nods from those casting offices.
And even just signing contracts, you're like, it's close, but no cigar, but it's close.
Being in front of the producers and networks and
totally
all good stuff.
So it's going well. I don't technically have any projects on the burner right now that I'm working with any outside people. With myself, I've been doing a bunch of writing. And
that's a good thing.
Yeah. And I'm trying to do collaborations with people.
Your writing is actually really good. Did you write that video, the link on your Instagram? You wrote that, didn't you?
Yeah.
I could tell you wrote that. That's really good.
Thanks.
I really like that video.
Thank you. Thanks.
It's really, really cool.
That's kind of I want to be creating more short. Actually, I have a short film that I wrote recently that I'm trying to pull together a team and create. And that's sort of, I think, important for my sanity too, and to feel like I have control over what I'm doing.
Your
so that's
artistry. I mean,
exactly.
That's the best thing that I have. I mean, I'd like to work professionally and do the more commercial stuff.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I love that. How often I shoot my own stuff, and
I think it's
the
great.
best.
And we are lucky to live in the technological era that we do, and we have access to so many
look
great
at all
things.
that junk.
I know.
All that is film equipment.
It's awesome.
Just sitting there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's great.
Just sitting there. Depresses me when I'm not using it.
Yeah.
I'd love to be able to shoot all the time and have money to shoot all the time.
Yeah.
It's just so expensive, and
It is. And honestly, it takes cooperation from a lot of parties.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that's hard. And something I've experienced as well is trying to rally people to work with you, and really having people follow through can be difficult at times.
Yeah, very.
And sometimes it's hard to follow through yourself. You're just so busy. Life is busy.
Oh, it's so hard to schedule stuff, and I
Yeah.
can't shoot right now. I'm editing on America's Got Talent right now at night,
cool.
so it's so hard to have any semblance of a schedule whatsoever. So I have 2 weeks off coming up, and I'm
that'll be
gonna shoot
nice.
like 3 projects in a row.
Oh, that's
and
such a great idea.
get them done. So all right, well, let's do this questionnaire real quick. What's your favorite color?
Blue.
What's your favorite word?
Wow.
What's your almost favorite word?
I feel like I have a few. I like
You mean
crumpet.
Crumpet?
Yeah.
Okay, what's your least favorite word?
Duh.
What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Nature.
What turns you off?
Meanness.
What's your favorite curse word?
Fuck. It's true.
Our faith-based audience is really gonna.
Sorry.
What sound or noise do you love?
I like the sound of when you're in the forest and the leaves are blowing in the wind and the way that they kind of clap against each other.
Those are good. What sound or noise do you hate?
I don't like when people honk. I don't like that. That sounds.
I hate that. You know, that's supposed to be used for emergencies only. It's not supposed to be used.
Apparently,
in the middle of
everyone's
the city.
panicking all the time.
All the time. Everything's
Yeah.
an emergency in this town. What's your favorite childhood memory?
Family reunions on the Oregon coast.
Wow. What profession other than your own would you like to try or attempt? If you weren't so busy acting.
What would I like? Oh, I always wanted to be a news anchor on the Today Show.
Wow, okay. What profession would you not like to do ever, under any circumstances?
Not like to do ever. A
Speaking of
snake
emergencies,
handler.
Snake handler? I hate snakes.
I hate snakes.
Oh, they're so gross. Would you ever let an iguana crawl on you?
Oh, no.
No.
No. Ew.
Or what about rats?
Their tails are
not
snakish
fans
almost.
of those types of creatures. Anything that
The squirminess.
it's
so weird.
and the texture, gross. All right. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Probably something happy. I think just something simple like welcome.
Yeah, something peaceful, huh?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, that's all the questions I have for you, Madison.
Cool.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
yeah, thanks for coming and doing the show.
It was fun.
I'll post this up soon.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Now,
Let me know.
now the world gets to know you
Woohoo.
even more.
They know I don't like snakes.
And they
Everyone
know
who
that
knows
you
knows that.
worked on Rip Van Winkle. Good.
Thank God. I remembered that. That was driving me nuts. Oh, yay. Cool.
All right.
Awesome.
See ya.
Bye.
And that was it. That was my interview with Madison Lawlor. I think it went well. I think she's a pretty good interview. She's very bright, bubbly, interesting young lady, young actress. I'm really excited to see what happens with her career. I mean, I think she's got the full package. She's got a good head on her shoulders, understands the business, has a great attitude about the entire thing, and she's got the chops for sure. I mean, I can tell you that firsthand, and she's a pretty good-looking gal. So I think she's gonna be just fine. And go follow her on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the whole nine. Support your fellow artists, your young artists, and if you have any questions for her or me that you want to relay, hit us up on Twitter, Facebook. Let us know. We'll answer questions. And I'm very happy with where the podcast is going. So we're still working on getting it out there even more, and we're going to continue doing it. It's something that I've definitely enjoyed doing so far, and I got a lot of guests lined up. So keep listening, keep supporting the podcast, and share it with your friends. And if you haven't seen it yet, and you have the opportunity to see it, go see Until Forever. It will be on video on demand starting in April sometime. I'll give you guys the exact date on my next podcast. And the DVDs, I've been getting asked a lot about the DVDs. The DVDs are going to be coming out in October, DVD Blu-ray. So, I'll keep you posted on that as well once I know exact dates. I think you can pre-order them on Amazon. If you just Google Until Forever movie, Amazon, you might be able to find it. So anyway, well, that's it for me on Hollywood Happy Hour podcast. This is episode 7. I can't believe 7 have gone so fast. They're going to pile up quick. All right, I'm out of here. Off to go do some fun stuff. Talk to you later.